My name is Jenny. I am 33 years old. I have a husband. His name is Harlan. He is 35 years old. Harlan was a good man. He worked hard, loved me, and always tried to make me smile after a long day. But there was one person who I could never make happy. His mother, Marta. From the first day I met Marta, I knew she did not like me. When I first visited her house, Marta said, "You are very pretty, Jenny." Then she looked at my simple dress and said, "Harlan could have married someone with a better sense of style." I thought she was joking. I was wrong. Still, I tried very hard to become a good daughter-in-law. I called her every Sunday. I visited her when she was sick. I never asked Harlan to choose between us. I only wanted Marta to accept me. Then one morning, Harlan came home with some bad news. He said, "My mother isn't feeling well. The doctor wants her to rest for a few weeks." I looked at him. I said, "Is she okay?" Harlan said, "She will be fine, but she needs someone to help her at home." Harlan held my hand. He said, "Jenny, would you stay with her for a little while? I have to travel for work, maybe 2 or 3 weeks." He wanted me to take care of his mother. I smiled. I said, "Of course she's your mom." The next morning, I went to Marta's house. The first day, I cleaned the house, cooked dinner, and washed the dishes. The next morning, Marta woke me at 6. She said, "Jenny, where is my breakfast? It is 6 in the morning." I got out of bed and made eggs and toast. After breakfast, Marta gave me a list. She said, "Go to the store. I need these things, and clean the bathroom before you leave." I nodded. Okay. That afternoon, I returned with the groceries. Marta looked through the bags. She said, "You forgot the coffee." I said, "I didn't see it at the store. I'm sorry." That night, I sat alone on the bed. My feet hurt. My hands smelled like soap. I wanted to call Harlan. I wanted to tell him everything. But when he called that night, he sounded tired. He said, "How is Mom?" I said, "She is fine." Harlan said, "And you?" I said, "I'm fine too." I said those words because I loved my husband. I thought staying quiet would protect our marriage. I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to be a good daughter-in-law. The next morning, Marta woke me before sunrise again. I cooked, I cleaned, I went to the store. My back hurt, but Marta did not say thank you. Days passed. Every day, Marta found another job for me. Sometimes she asked me to iron her clothes. Sometimes she wanted me to clean her bedroom again. At night, I called Harlan. He said, "Hi, sweetheart. How are you doing?" I said, "I'm okay." He said, "How is Mom?" I said, "She's getting better." Harlan said, "Thank you for taking care of her, Jenny. I'll be home soon." I wanted to tell him the truth, but I couldn't. I was afraid he would think I hated his mother, so I stayed quiet. One afternoon, Marta said, "Jenny, why haven't you cleaned the windows? You are my son's wife. You should be happy to help his mother." Her words hurt. I said, "I am happy to help." That evening, I went into the bathroom and locked the door. I cried quietly. Then I heard Marta calling from downstairs. She said, "Jenny, come here. I need you." I walked downstairs. Marta was holding a large pile of clothes. She said, "Fold these before you go to bed." It was 10 o'clock. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say I am tired, but the words stayed inside my mouth. I said, "Okay." Marta said, "Remember, Jenny, you are lucky my son married you." I stopped folding the clothes. I looked into her eyes. I said, "Why do you say things like that to me?" Marta looked surprised. She said, "Excuse me?" I said, "I have done everything you asked me to do. I came here because you were sick. I wanted to help you." Marta said, "This is my house, Jenny. Remember your place. You are my son's wife. You should know how to take care of a family." Tears filled my eyes. I had been taking care of this house every day. I had barely slept. I had barely spoken to my husband. And somehow I was still not good enough. I finally said, "I'm tired. I need a little rest." Marta said, "You can rest after your work is finished." I said, "I am not your servant." Marta froze. Her face became red. She said, "How dare you speak to me like that?" I said, "I'm sorry, but I can't do this anymore." Marta picked up her phone. She said, "Fine, I will call Harlan." My heart stopped. I said, "Please don't." My heart stopped. I said, "Please don't." Marta said, "I'm going to tell my son how you have been treating me, that you have become rude and lazy." I shook my head. I said, "That isn't true." Marta began crying. I knew what she was doing. She was making herself the victim. Suddenly, we heard the front door open. Marta stopped crying. I froze. A man's voice came from the hallway. "Mom." It was Harlan. He walked into the room with a suitcase. He said, "What happened? Mom, why are you crying?" Marta said, "Nothing, honey. Your wife is angry with me." Harlan looked at me. He said, "Jenny, what is going on?" Marta quickly interrupted. She said, "Jenny doesn't want to help me anymore. She says she is tired of taking care of me." I looked at Harlan. I said, "That is not what happened." Harlan looked around the room. There were piles of laundry, a sink full of dishes. Harlan said, "Jenny, tell me the truth." This time, I told my husband everything. I said, "I did everything your mom asked me to do. I never complained to you because I didn't want you to worry. I didn't want you to think I hated your mother. I kept telling you I was okay, but I wasn't." His eyes became wet. Harlan said, "Why didn't you tell me, Jenny?" I said, "Because I knew how much you loved your mom." Harlan looked at his mother. He said, "Why did you treat Jenny this way?" Marta said, "I was afraid of losing you, Harlan. After your father died, you became the most important person in my life. Then you married Jenny, and I felt like I was no longer needed. I felt my anger disappear. I finally understood that Marta had been hurting too, but her pain did not excuse what she had done." Marta looked at me. She said, "I thought if I made you work for my approval, you would try harder to become part of this family." I said, "I was trying every day." Marta said, "I know. I am sorry, Jenny." Those words meant a lot. Harlan held my hand. He said, "You are my wife. You should never feel like a servant in my family." That evening, Harlan and I went back to our house. For the first time in weeks, I slept in my own bed beside my husband. A few weeks later, Marta came to our house. She brought an old family photo. I looked at the picture. It was Harlan standing beside his parents. Marta said, "I want you in our family picture too." I hugged her. It did not erase everything, but it was a beginning. Being kind does not mean accepting disrespect. You can love someone and still have boundaries. I once thought being a good daughter-in-law meant saying yes to everything. Now I know the truth. A family should not have a servant. A family should have love, respect, and people who listen when someone says, "I am hurting." If you liked this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.